So I wanted to talk a little bit about the drums and the drum cart. So the drum cart was built by the Advanced Woods class here, and it's sort of still always a work in progress. Right now there's this big wooden part that serves as a handle, but in the future there's supposed to be like a metal handle that has pockets that you would be able to push it and then take it out and set it down so you're not looking at this thing the whole time. This cart is pretty cool. It's fairly big. It's got corners on the one side that makes it a little easier to move, but there's these brakes on it. When the brakes aren't down, I can move the cart pretty easily. When we get somewhere, all of these are going to come down. They're pretty simple levers and they lift up a little bit. There's 6 of them at the moment, and we'll put all those on just so you can see what this whole thing looks like when we get it down. And come over here for me for a second. You'll notice on the bottom, on the back, there's like a hinged area, and this will come down to allow a little extra room for the drum throne, which is the part that you would sit on, so that somebody can move, and if they're a taller person especially, that they're not cramped up into the front. We put that on intentionally. I'm not sure how necessary it is. Maybe in the future it could be smaller. There is some hallways that this doesn't fit down, and you need to go through double doors in order for it to use, so it makes it a little bit complicated. But it can move into the choir room, it can move into the gym, it can move into this part of the yokum, no problem. When it comes to putting this thing away, you have to take the stuff in the middle out and sometimes I set the stool on the back side there or under here, it doesn't really matter, and then fold it up. But we'll leave it down for a second because I want to show you a little bit about how the drum set itself actually works. So come on over here. And Micah, you can move a little bit too. So this is the control unit right here. And this control unit is how the electric drums work. I've got a power cord that comes into the back right here, and I do have some power right here just so that we can see what this looks like, so we can turn this on. The power switch is down at the bottom in the back, and it's a push button toggle. It's kind of a weird one. Everything else that you see back here, the top 2 lines of cables that are back here, come around to this side just a little bit so you can see. The top 2 lines of those cables are triggers. So if you look at all of the individual drums, you're going to see something like this, which is a trigger that goes into it. And when you get a hit on there, it's sending it over here to the brain. This is really what makes the electric drum set work. So the trigger is just a TRS cable, really any TRS cable. It's a TRS cable on this end too, so any of these will work. But if something's not working, the first place to come is to say, hey, is this plugged all the way in? There's a jack for it, and make sure it goes all the way in, otherwise it won't be in the right spot. So down on the bottom, you're going to see these colorful ones, at least the way that I've got it right now, and it goes in order of the rainbow with red, orange at the beginning, and at the very last one would be gray. And that's carrying individual outputs from this thing onto this snake, which has the same colors on the other end that you can plug into a sound system. Whenever you wrap up a cable like this, if it's fixed at one end, you always want to be wrapping from this end. Let me show you what this looks like just so it makes some sense. So if I have this cable out, I am not going to start over here at the loose end and wrap it up because it creates tension and coil the whole time. I'm going to start over at this end where it's already plugged in, and then I'll do the good cable methods that we've talked about in other videos and get this thing to wrap up over and under, and I just hang it on the edge right there. There is another output on the back of this thing, so come over here. These main outputs, you can use a TRS to XLR connection on there and just get the main mix. We don't like to do that very much because we can process the drums differently individually or turn down the cymbals if they're too loud. This way the drummer has control. If you go through this, then the sound person really has control. Now there's a whole manual for this and a user guide, so I'm just want to point out a couple of things on here. The master volume control, it only will affect this main out. The other outs it wouldn't matter on. Where it says kit, here, let's just move that a little bit. Can you see okay? Where it says kit, I'm going to hit this kit button, and then this screen is showing. And if I were to hit a trigger, I'm going to kick the bass drum for a second. You see how it went blue? So it's showing me that that trigger is actually working. There's an area that says user. I'm going to hit F4. This is not a touch screen, by the way. I hit F4 and it's going to load up some things. I can hit the list button and see a bunch of kits, but it's going to load the most recent one. So that's how you do the user. These controls for mixing are only active if you're out of the mains. Like I said, they won't do it when you're in this individual mode. And there's a ton of stuff in here for swapping out sounds, the rim and the middle of the drum. So look at the snare drum for a second. This part has a different sensor than this part right here. So you can actually have a cowbell on this side while the snare is in the middle. And some of them, like the hi-hat, have multiple outputs and the ride have multiple outputs. So the bell and the bow are different sounds and the crash edge is a different sound. And they're all in here. You can put whatever you want anywhere. You're going to have to look at the manual for this thing or watch another video because I'm not going to reteach you just how to use this particular thing, but that's how we load up the kit, how we plug it into a system, and how we make the electric drum set work in general here. When you're done with the cart, you're just going to move this all back into position, fold up the top, undo the legs, and you can wheel it wherever you got to have it go.